The Carter Group building towered over downtown Manhattan, its glass panels reflecting the cold morning light of New York City. On the 45th floor, Emily Watson walked briskly through the wide hallway, the sharp clicks of her high heels echoing against the marble floor. She was the personal secretary of John Carter, the CEO of one of the most powerful financial corporations in the country. With years of experience in the industry, Emily maintained absolute professionalism, but today, something felt off. Stepping into the conference room, Emily adjusted her blazer and placed the documents on the table. The senior executives sat around, while John Carter stood near the window, gazing down at the city with a contemplative look. He was a man in his early 40s, tall, composed, with an aura of authority that was both commanding and unsettling. "Good morning, everyone." John's deep voice resonated through the room. He turned around, offering a smile that carried just enough warmth to mask the power behind it. "Today, we'll be discussing our partnership with Morgan & Weiss." The meeting lasted 2 hours. Emily observed everything, meticulously taking notes, yet she couldn't shake the feeling of John's gaze lingering on her longer than necessary. It wasn't the look of a CEO toward his employee, it was the look of a predator assessing its prey. After the meeting, Emily quickly gathered the documents. Just as she was about to leave, John's voice stopped her. "Emily, can you stay for a moment?" She turned, her professional smile unwavering. "Of course, Mr. Carter." John gestured for her to sit. He approached slowly, then leaned against the desk, his eyes fixed on her. "You've been doing excellent work, Emily. I truly appreciate your dedication." "Thank you, sir." She kept her tone neutral. "How long have you been working here?" "More than a year." John nodded, his gaze sweeping over her face as if analyzing her. "A year isn't long, but I feel like you've been here much longer. I'd like you to join me for dinner. I have some important matters to discuss." Emily pressed her lips together slightly. Such invitations weren't uncommon between a CEO and his secretary, but something in John's tone and expression made her wary. "I'm sorry, but I already have plans tonight," she replied politely but firmly. John didn't seem offended, he merely smiled. "That's all right. I'm sure we'll find another opportunity." Emily quickly left the office, feeling as if she had just escaped an invisible force pressing down on her. She stepped into the elevator and took a deep breath. Something about John Carter unsettled her, a creeping sense of unease she couldn't quite name. Underscore 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 underscore. In the days that followed, Emily became increasingly aware of John Carter's presence in her life. He sent emails at odd hours, requested her to work late without clear reasons, and changed her schedule unexpectedly. He appeared in places she didn't expect, by the coffee station, in the hallway, even near the exit when she left late at night. One evening, as she entered her apartment, her phone rang. An unknown number. She answered, and a low voice spoke on the other end, "Be careful. He's watching you." Emily's heart pounded. "Who is this?" The line went dead. A chill ran down her spine as she glanced around, suddenly feeling exposed. Someone was either watching her, or worse, trying to warn her. She returned to work the next morning with a heavy feeling in her chest. Everything seemed normal, but that unsettling sensation remained, as if unseen eyes were constantly following her, as if she was trapped in a game she didn't even know she was playing. That afternoon, as Emily worked at her desk, an email from John Carter appeared on her screen. From John Carter. Subject: My former secretary. Emily, have you ever been curious about my previous secretaries? There are some interesting things I think you should know. Her heart pounded. She didn't know what lay ahead, but one thing was certain: the game had just begun. The tension in Emily's life was escalating. Every interaction with John Carter now carried a weight that was impossible to ignore. His presence was suffocating, his words laced with hidden meanings. The email he had sent about his former secretaries haunted her thoughts. What had happened to them? And why did he want her to know? Emily decided it was time to dig deeper. Late at night, after work, she sat in her dimly lit apartment, her laptop open in front of her. She searched for any information about John Carter's previous secretaries. Strangely, there were no mentions of them in company records. No LinkedIn profiles. No social media presence. It was as if they had disappeared without a trace. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard, hesitation creeping in. Was she overreacting? Or was there really something sinister hidden beneath John's polished exterior? A message notification popped up on her screen. Unknown number, stop digging, Emily. It's not safe. Her blood ran cold. Someone knew what she was doing. But who? And why warn her? A knock on her apartment door made her jump. She hesitated before walking toward it, her breath unsteady. Through the peephole, she saw no one. But taped to the door was a small envelope. She tore it open with trembling fingers. Inside was a single sheet of paper. They never left. Emily's stomach twisted. The message was vague, but the implication was clear. The former secretaries, what had really happened to them? Underscore 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 underscore. The next day, she entered the office, trying to act normal. But as soon as she walked past the reception desk, she noticed John standing near her workspace, waiting. Emily, he greeted smoothly, his smile unreadable. Join me for a drink after work. It wasn't a request. She hesitated, but refusing him again might raise suspicion. Of course, Mr. Carter. That evening, they sat in a private lounge, the city skyline stretching beyond the glass walls. John ordered whiskey, but Emily barely touched her drink. He leaned in slightly. You seem tense. I've had a long day, she replied, keeping her voice steady. John chuckled. I know you, Emily. You're thinking too much. His fingers brushed against the back of her hand, lingering for a moment longer than necessary. She pulled away subtly, keeping her expression neutral. I just have a lot on my mind. He steadied her, his gaze piercing. I know you've been looking into things you shouldn't. Her pulse quickened, but she forced herself to remain calm. I don't know what you mean. John smirked. You're intelligent, Emily. But intelligence can be dangerous when misplaced. There was a threat beneath his words. A subtle warning. But the way he looked at her, like he was savoring the moment, sent a different kind of chill down her spine. He reached forward, his fingers lightly grazing her wrist. I need you to trust me. Emily's breath hitched. The way he touched her wasn't overtly inappropriate, but there was a possessiveness in his actions. A control. He was testing her boundaries, seeing how far he could push. She slowly withdrew her hand. I should go. John didn't stop her, but his smile deepened. I'll see you soon, Emily. As she left the lounge, she felt his eyes on her, burning into her back. The game between them was no longer just about power. It was about control. And she wasn't sure who would win. Underscore 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 underscore. That night, she received another anonymous message. Unknown number, the answer is in his office. But be careful. Emily knew she had no choice. If she wanted to understand what John was truly capable of, she had to take risks. The following evening, When most employees had left, she stayed behind. Her heart pounded as she approached John's office. The door was locked, but she had seen where he kept the spare key. Sliding it into the lock, she took a deep breath and turned the handle. The room was dark, illuminated only by the faint city lights outside. She moved quickly, searching his desk. Papers, contracts, financial records, nothing out of the ordinary. But then she noticed a drawer with a fingerprint scanner. Her stomach dropped. Of course, John would secure his secrets. But before she could step away, her phone buzzed. Unknown number, look behind the bookshelf. She turned slowly, her pulse roaring in her ears. There was a small gap between the bookshelf and the wall. She reached inside, and her fingers brushed against a small USB drive, taped to the wood. She pulled it free just as the office door clicked open. John. He stepped inside, his expression unreadable. What are you doing here, Emily? Think fast. I was looking for a file you mentioned earlier. Silence stretched between them. Then, he stepped closer. Too close. You shouldn't be here. His voice was low, almost a whisper. He reached up, tucking a loose strand of hair behind her ear. The touch sent a shiver down her spine. She forced herself to hold his gaze. I was just leaving. John steadied her for a long moment before stepping back. Be careful, Emily. She didn't waste a second. Gripping the USB drive in her pocket, she walked past him, out of the office. Her hands were shaking, but she had won this round. Or so she thought. As she left the building, her phone buzzed again. Unknown number, you have the proof. But now, he knows. The game wasn't over. It was just beginning. Night had fallen over the city, but Emily couldn't sleep. She sat in front of her laptop, staring at the USB drive she had taken from John Carter's office. It could hold the answers she was looking for, or drag her into even greater danger. She plugged the USB into her laptop. A series of encrypted folders appeared, their meaningless names offering no clues. Her heart pounded as she opened each file. The first video made her blood run cold. On the screen, a woman sat in John's office, one of his former secretaries. She looked terrified. John's deep voice echoed in the room. You know you can't leave, don't you? The woman shook her head, tears streaming down her face. Please, let me go. John only smiled, stepping closer, placing a hand on her shoulder. The screen went black. Emily shivered. She clicked on more files. Similar videos, different faces, the same fear. Some of them had disappeared afterward, leaving no trace. She couldn't imagine what had happened to them. She knew what she had to do. But as she picked up her phone to call the police, a message popped up on her screen. Unknown number, you've gone too far, Emily. Her body froze. He knew. Underscore 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 underscore. Without hesitation, Emily stuffed the USB into her coat pocket, shut her laptop, and rushed out of her apartment. She had to get to the police station before John found her. The night was bitterly cold, the streets nearly empty. She ran toward the parking lot, fumbling with her keys as she reached her car. But just as she unlocked the door, a voice spoke behind her. Did you really think you could escape me, Emily? John. She turned, her heart pounding. He stood there, sleeves rolled up, calm and collected. But his eyes were dangerous. I don't know what you're talking about, she said, forcing her voice to stay steady. John took a slow step forward. I know you saw what was on that USB. And I know what you're planning to do next. Emily backed away, her hand secretly reaching into her bag. She had a can of pepper spray. But before she could react, John lunged, grabbing her wrist and pinning it tightly. "Let go of me," she struggled, but he was too strong. "You've disappointed me, Emily." His grip tightened. "I thought you were different from the others. I gave you a chance. But you betrayed me." Panic surged through her. "The others, what did you do to them?" John tilted his head, as if considering his answer. "They're no longer a problem. But you, Emily, you're special. And I really hate having to do this." He pulled something from his pocket, a syringe. Terror exploded inside her. With all her strength, she kicked him hard in the leg. John stumbled, giving her just enough time to yank out the pepper spray and unleash it directly into his eyes. He roared in pain, releasing her. Seizing the moment, she dove into her car, locked the doors, and started the engine. John pounded against the window, but she slammed her foot on the gas, speeding out of the lot. Underscore 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 underscore. On her way to the police station, her phone buzzed. An unknown number. She hesitated but answered. "Emily," a deep male voice spoke. "Don't go to the police station." "Who is this?" she gasped, still shaken. "I'm the one who's been messaging you. I used to work for Carter. I have the information you need, but you have to meet me." She clenched her jaw. "How do I know you're not working with him?" "Because if you go to the police now, you'll never have a chance to expose him. John has people in the force. He'll know, and you'll never be safe." Emily gripped the steering wheel. She didn't want to trust a stranger, but if what he said was true, she could be walking straight into a trap by going to the police. "I need proof," she said. "I have everything you need. But you have to hurry. He's hunting you." Emily took a deep breath. She had no other choice. "Where do we meet?" Underscore 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 underscore. She drove to the location the stranger had sent, an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of town. Stepping inside, she saw a middle-aged man with sharp eyes and a hardened expression. "Did you bring the USB?" he asked. Emily nodded, but before she could respond, a noise echoed from behind her. "John." He stepped out of the shadows, his eyes filled with fury. "Did you really think you could escape, Emily?" The other man pulled out a gun, but John was faster. His accomplice emerged from the side, striking the man down with a brutal blow to the head. Emily backed away, but John was already in front of her. "It's over, Emily." She felt a sinking dread. But just as he reached for her, a sudden sound blared from outside, the wail of police sirens. John turned sharply, his face twisting in rage. "No." The man on the floor chuckled weakly despite his injuries. "I called them before I came here. You can't run this time, Carter." The warehouse doors burst open. Officers swarmed in, weapons drawn. John tried to flee, but within seconds, they tackled him to the ground, forcing his hands behind his back. Emily stood frozen, heart racing, watching as John was cuffed and dragged away. He turned to look at her one last time, his eyes burning with hatred. "You'll regret this, Emily." But she wasn't afraid anymore. Because his game was finally over.